What's up team, and welcome back to another video. I am really excited to start this video off today because it's a topic that is very close to my heart. You've read the title, you know what this is. This is how to start your yoga practice. I've been practicing yoga for 3 years now. I started when I was 24 and I'm 27 now. And a couple of videos back I talked about my yoga journey and how I got started. And in this video I kind of wanted to make it more of an instructional video of how to start yours, the mistakes that I learned or the things that I wish that I knew, as well as some tips just to help you build a really solid foundation for your yoga journey. So we're going to start this video off what you need and what you don't need, and then this lovely little category in the middle of things that you might need but don't necessarily need to go out and buy straight away. The first thing that I would say that you would need is a yoga mat. You don't need to spend a whole lot of money on it. That being said, investing in a yoga mat that you think is going to last you a long time is really important. So when you buy your yoga mat, I suggest you get a nice thick yoga mat, one that's got lots of cushioning on it, and one that grips really well because you don't want to be sliding around on your yoga mat. Now you could probably get away with a yoga mat that's less cushiony, say if you travel a lot and you want something a little bit more easier to roll up and throw over your shoulder. And also if you live in a place that has more carpeted floors or you're not really practicing on super hard surfaces, then a mat that has less cushioning might be better for you. For my personal preference, I don't travel a whole lot. I do a lot of my yoga practice at home, and the floors in my house are hard wooden floors. So I really wanted something with a lot of cushioning that would make my knees not hurt as much and would grip really well. The mat that I have is the Aloe Yoga Warrior mat. That was the mat that suited me the most. But I would say a yoga mat is probably one of the things that you need to start a yoga practice. Second thing that you're going to need to start your yoga practice is going to be a way to practice, obviously. Whether that is in a studio or online classes, find something where you can practice consistently and get a nice variety of classes, teachers, and styles so that you can really experiment with what you personally like to practice. Number 3 of what you need is yourself and your willingness to try, or at least give it a go. Stay open, show up for yourself, be patient. And those are the 3 things that you need to start your yoga journey. Now I'm going to run you through a couple of things that you definitely don't need to start a yoga practice. Fancy yoga gear. Wear what makes you comfortable. Wear what you feel good in. If you want to get new yoga clothes, then by all means do that, but you don't need them. You don't need essential oils, sprays, or mists. You don't need crystals. You don't need meditation bowls. These are all beautiful things, but you don't need to be into them and you don't need to have them to start yoga or to be a yogi. Leading on from that, you don't need to be spiritual, but if you are, amazing. Don't yuck other people's yum. The last thing that you don't need to start yoga, you don't need to be flexible and you don't need to be fit. Let me say that again and listen. You don't need to be flexible and you don't need to be fit. Okay? End of story. So, Amy, what are the things that are in the middle ground? The things that you might need or you might not need, or that might just be nice to have. These are things like blocks and straps and yoga wheels and bolsters. These are our yoga props. They are really useful to have if and when you need them. However, there's ways that you can substitute them. I only have one yoga block, and my yoga strap is an old jiu-jitsu belt that I haven't used for jiu-jitsu in a long time. This is it here. It's my white belt strap with one stripe. Don't fuck with me, okay? And this is what I use as my yoga strap. I just loop it around. It doesn't have a buckle, so I just make do with not having a buckle. And I have one yoga block that my friend gave me, I'm gonna say a year ago, that I use every now and then. Those props are there on the days where I just feel like I need a little extra support. And if you feel like you want to invest in those props, then by all means go ahead. They are great to have, but they are not completely necessary to your practice or for you to start your practice. Right, now getting into my step-by-step guide on how to start your yoga practice. I have 7 steps and then a couple of bonus questions for the end. My first step is to have a plan, to set aside some time each day to dedicate to stepping on your mat. Pick a time that suits your lifestyle and suits your schedule. Ask yourself when you like to practice. What time of the day suits you best? Do you prefer waking up early and practicing in the morning, or do you prefer using yoga as a way to wind down for the night? My tip number 2 is to experiment. Now this is to do with just everything. What time of day? What kind of classes do you do? you. Try different classes. Do you like hatha? Do you like vinyasa? Do you like yin? Experiment with different teachers as well. I read this quote a while ago that was something along the lines of, there is a student for every teacher and a teacher for every student. And that just made complete sense to me, because it really is such a crucial part of our practice, and it can really make or break it. And this is nothing to do with the teacher. They can be an incredible teacher. They're just not the right teacher for you. Tip number 3, and this is to find your why. This sounds really cheesy, but just hang in there for a second, okay? What I mean by this is to just find your reason for why you practice yoga. Why did you start yoga? What does it give you? Why do you enjoy it? Is it a space for you to relax and de-stress? Is it to gain flexibility or strength? Is it to complement another sport or activity that you have in your life? Is it for the mindfulness and meditation side of things? Find what you enjoy about yoga. When you connect with your reason why you're practicing, it's going to help give you a purpose in your classes, and it's going to help to motivate you as well. When you go to step on your mat every day and you don't know what to do, go back to your reasons why. Is it to gain flexibility? Cool, let's do a flexibility class. Is it to gain strength? Cool, let's do a strength-based class. This is going to be the thing that you come back to when you feel uninspired, when you feel unmotivated. I think finding your reason why is really going to help when you start to lose that motivation and that initial spark of starting yoga, because when you start to feel uninspired, you can always come back to, why did I start this and what do I want from this? And when you come back to that core reason why, it's going to help inspire you and keep you pushing forward, because you have a purpose or a direction to move towards. But find the reason why you want to do something and why you enjoy it, and come back to that. Always come back to that. Always come back to your reason why. My step number 4, we're kind of backtracking here a little bit, but it's going in step number 4 because I think this is the time where, you know, you're getting into yoga and you're finding out your reason why you want to do it, and you're finding the classes that you enjoy. It can feel a little bit overwhelming. But my tip number 4 is to start small and start simple. I can't recommend these 2 enough, because I skipped these and I so wish I didn't. And I don't want you to be ashamed when you do this either. There are still some classes that I do now that are beginner classes that I love in my practice, because they give me foundations and they give me those really basic movements that honestly make up a huge portion of yoga. So don't be ashamed to do those beginner classes, because those honestly are going to be the classes that build your foundation and help to carry you off into your practice later on. I wish I knew this at the start, because I essentially just went guns a-blazing into my practice, trying to do an hour-long practice every time, trying to do inversions that I just couldn't do because I did not have any foundations to go on. And it took me 2 years to realize that I needed these as a solid foundation. And then I went back and started practicing them. And it's honestly been only in the last year that I've actually learned how to do a sun salutation. They're really going to help set you in a good foundation, because when you start small and you start just with 15-20 minutes, then you're building a habit and you're building a solid foundation so that you can grow from there. These beginner classes are really going to teach you the fundamentals of yoga that essentially everything is built upon. So don't be afraid to do those beginner classes and to do just 15 minutes a day. Start really small and be consistent, which is step number 5. Be consistent. Now, I know that it's not possible for everyone to practice every single day. Things happen, life happens, but when you're building a habit, consistency really is the key here. That's why I'm saying start with just 15 minutes a day, because 15 minutes is pretty doable for most people. If you have to do 10 minutes, do 10 to 15 minutes, but set aside 10 to 15 minutes every single day, even if you just sit on your mat and just chill in child's pose for 10-15 minutes. Setting that habit of just coming to your mat for that time is going to really help just make it into more of a habitual thing, and the more consistent you are, the easier it's going to be to make it a part of your life in a really sustainable way. I also just think there's something really beneficial in following through in what you set yourself to do. I feel like it is so easy to make plans and then skip out on them, but for yourself, set a plan and follow through with it, and I swear to God, it'll change your life. And this is not me saying don't take rest days, because 100% take rest days. If you feel like you need rest, then by all means go ahead. But if it's just, I don't want to, I don't feel like it, really just try and follow through. I guarantee you will feel so much satisfaction just by following through, even if you just lay on your mat in Shavasana for 10 to 15 minutes. I think along with being consistent, you want to be realistic. So this again goes back to not trying to set yourself to do an hour-long class every day. Start with 15 to 20 minutes. Work your way up from there. It's small changes over a long period of time that's going to be more sustainable. And if you want something to be a part of your life, then it's about making it sustainable and making it so it's accessible for you to do every day. Be realistic. Be consistent. Tip number 6, and it's to be open and to be curious. Being open and being curious, I think, is just in general a really good tip. In regards to your yoga practice, what I mean here is to expect the unexpected, or to expect your expectations to be completely different. When you find yourself shutting off to a particular teaching style or method or whatever, when you find yourself getting frustrated or bored or angry or upset, whatever, get curious about it. Don't immediately just judge it and then throw it away as something that doesn't work for you. Get curious as to why it doesn't work for you. And I guarantee you're going to be having some very interesting conversations with yourself, because, I've had some conversations with myself that I didn't really like a whole lot, but man, was it interesting, and I can't recommend this enough. I feel like this is kind of when yoga gets to the point where it starts to bleed into your everyday life, because then you start just getting curious about the way you react to anything, and it makes for some really interesting hangs up here and in here. So get curious with yourself, because you never know what it is that's going to actually start to resonate, and you don't want to close yourself off from potentially experiencing something that you could go on to really enjoy. So stay open and stay curious. My tip number 7, my last tip of this, guys, and that is to play. Because at the end of the day, it's just yoga, and we're all here doing it because it gives us some sort of joy, it helps us in some way, whatever your reason why is. I'll go back to the reason why. So at the end of the day, just enjoy your practice. Don't get too caught up in aesthetics. Don't compare yourself to other people. Enjoy the process of it. Enjoy your practice. Have fun, don't take it too seriously, and always focus on how yoga makes you feel, because yoga is more of a feeling than anything. Yeah, that's my tip number 7. Play, enjoy it, have fun. Okay, bonus tip round. Now, I added these bonus tips here because I did a little question on my Instagram asking you guys what you wanted to know. I got some interesting questions that didn't necessarily go into my step-by-step checklist here, but I wanted to answer them for you guys. Okay, so a question that came up quite a few times actually was how to tell if you're doing something right. Now, this is especially hard when you're practicing from home, because obviously you don't have a teacher there to tell you what to do. But for this one, I would recommend definitely doing a little bit of research into those fundamentals, and this is where I think kind of starting at basics really helps, starting simple and starting small, because when you start to learn those fundamentals and those basics, a lot of the time they'll teach you in those classes how you should be feeling when it feels right. And the key with yoga is just, if it hurts, if you feel like there's pinching or tweaking or anything that's not just like a nice deep stretch, then something's wrong. With yoga, it's especially hard because all of our bodies are really different. So my way of doing something might be completely different to how it works and looks in your body. So I don't think wording anything as like the right way to do a pose is necessarily true for yoga. So make sure you're listening to your own body, and if you feel pain, it isn't just stretching discomfort, then back off, because that's probably when you're doing something wrong. So if you are really curious and knowing, I guess, like the anatomy or the proper foundations of a pose, then going online and searching for those and doing some research, really recommend that. There's a class on Aloe Moves by Byron E. Smith. It's called Verbal Cueing, and I watched that recently, and it was really beneficial just to learn about the basic foundations of poses and like what they should be doing for your body and how to kind of feel them out. So there's resources online that can really help you if it's something that you're really interested in. But basically, if it hurts, probably wrong. If it feels good, probably right. I feel like we've all got a basic instinct for what feels right and what feels like it's going to do damage. So when you start feeling those instincts kick in of like, this is doing damage, then back off. I also just had another question regarding breath work, and basically in through the nose, out through the nose is your classic Ujjayi breath, and that's also when you're doing a slight constriction at the back of the throat. And then also there is in through the nose and out through the mouth, and this is to, I don't want to use the word detoxify because I'm just not going to use that word. It's more just to help your body relax, because an exhale out through the mouth really helps just to settle the nervous system, and it can be really beneficial for any of those deeper held postures that's just a little bit intense, where you just feel like you need to help your body chill out just a little bit. In through the nose and out through the mouth can be really beneficial in those times. Syncing your breath with your movement is going to be really beneficial. So usually it's inhaling to lengthen and exhaling to deepen. But honestly, just starting by building a basic awareness of your breath is going to be really good. So just in through the nose, out through the nose, or out through the mouth every now and then when you feel like you need it, and using it to go alongside your movement is going to be really beneficial for your practice. But again, keep it simple, keep it sweet. If you lose your breath, then that's fine. You can always come back to it later. So there was one message that I got that I found really interesting, and it was around setting realistic timelines for seeing results. And I'm going to be doing a separate video based around the idea of progress and results and goal setting. I wanted to dive into it in this video, but this one's already way too long. That video is going to be a long one as well, so I'm going to save that for that. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to give it a thumbs up. It really supports me and this channel, and if you want to see more, subscribe, because I'm putting out new videos all the time, apparently. And comment below where you are in your yoga journey. I would love to hear from you guys and hear how you're getting along, and if there's any questions that you guys have, then leave them down there, and I am reading and replying to every single comment because y'all are just the best and I really appreciate it. So thank you so much again, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.